Thank you very much. I really do appreciate being invited here tonight, and I appreciate the warmth in the room. And as I was walking in, I noticed a pattern. I walked by about 12 people, and the first one said, "Oh, I just want you to know I contributed to your campaign." The second person said, "I want you to know I came down 3 weekends to knock doors for your campaign." Someone else said, "I gave my daughter to your campaign." And I know that Arlington Democrats adopted my race with a special kind of support. It meant so much to us. And it is true that in a race that by the national averages, we should have lost by 17. We only lost by 3. But more importantly, we made a proud statement about democratic values, and we showed that in Virginia's 5th district, there was no enthusiasm for that. And Senator Whipple for their tremendous service to this community and to the Commonwealth of Virginia. I know that you have gone to Richmond to represent this area, but when you stand up for kids in Richmond, that includes kids in Central Virginia and kids in Southern Virginia. When you stand up for education and conservation, that isn't just here. My constituents, the people in the communities that I represent, appreciate as well your unbelievable service, so thank you very much. I remember with Senator Whipple, I went to Richmond early when I was thinking about challenging Mr. Good, and the only poll that had been run, I was 34 points behind in the poll, and I went into a room full of Democratic senators in caucus and mentioned that I was doing this, and I looked and saw the eyes around the room express that, "Oh, you're the lamb headed to slaughter look." Except Senator Whipple, who would say, "I'm right there behind you, let's get in there for the fight," because she is a fighter, and I know she's going to continue to fight. And so thank you to Brian for his leadership in the party, and I want to give a special shout out to Jim Moran, who was a great mentor in Congress. When I was taking those votes that other people thought were dumb votes for someone from a risky district to take, Jim was right there pushing me over the cliff and encouraging me. In all seriousness, no, he was actually incredibly generous with his time and his substance support. He and Bobby both were just great mentors for me there, and I appreciate that, and always kept us laughing as well. So I really do appreciate it, and hope that we will continue to work together in some way. And you know, I know everyone's told me to stay out of the whole issue about how many candidates are here. In fact, I thought briefly that everyone here was a candidate for this office. But I do know, having been through a couple of campaigns, how much it means to step up and run, how much it means for your family. So if all of the candidates could just stand and get a round of applause. I know there are those in both parties who prefer to figure out primaries more quietly, but I think it's a great part of the process and a great time to figure out our values and say where we stand. And so I hope it will be a spirited debate in each of these cases and not a personal one, and it will come out as a stronger party for us. So thank you so much for stepping up. You know, I just came back 2 days ago from Egypt, and I've been working for the last little bit with some of the democracy movements in the Middle East at this amazing moment. No, it's not just because I wanted to get as far away from Washington as I possibly could, or I was trying to meet Terry for the World Cup and my ticket got mixed up in the mail. It's such an incredible moment. It's a moment with enormous implications for our national security, for the geopolitics of the next 50 years, but it's also just a human story. And there were a couple of things that have struck me about that and coming back and looking at the political situation here right now. One is when you talk to these people and the courage they took to risk their lives and swear in Tahrir Square, they will also emerges online. A year ago last week, a young man was beaten to death by police. And rather than that being just another case of police abuse, it was something that led to a Facebook group that helped lead to a revolution. And we can think in our own history here in the Commonwealth of the struggles for things like civil rights. These are not battles that were won in one go. They were iterative. They were times where you build on the success from one year to the next. And then there are historical moments where great things happen. We certainly saw that in 2008, a culmination of so much work by so many people in this room, so many people around the country. People who believed for a generation that such things were possible. And yes, there are setbacks, and it's easy for us to overlearn from those moments and say, oh my goodness, everything's heading in the other direction. Instead of being able to take that breath and see that arc of history bending towards justice, towards freedom. And you realize why you keep coming back year after year to dinners like this, why you keep knocking doors, why you keep fighting for the things we believe in, because somewhere in our hearts and in our souls, we know that all of this matters. But even as one individual, we feel like we can't make a difference. Cumulatively, we shape history. We shape and expand our sense of what's possible as human beings. And as grand, theoretical, and great as that was, as I was, riding around in this deeply polluted city, meeting with these people, we had to meet in secret and all this stuff for various reasons, and trying to make this thing work. They wanted to get down to brass tacks. Well, how do you win an election? You've got these liberal reformer groups there, and yes, they're proud of using the word liberal, trying to figure out how to do it, and they would ask me, and I would very quickly get down to things like, well, we had over 2,000 active volunteers, we had a systematic way of knocking every door and identifying every voter, and they would just give me this look, and they were like, people would just go knock on strangers' doors and talk about politics. And I said, yeah, and sometimes, we'd set up phone banks and there would be phone calls. You would call people you don't know and talk about politics? And I said, yes. And it reminded me of just how amazing it is what you all do, what all of us do for each other, for candidates we believe in, for a party we believe in. There's something kind of crazy about it. We get together, we eat more pizza than we should, we call up people who don't want to take our phone calls, and we make a case about things that they may not want to hear about. Because we know in our hearts it's important for us to do that these things matter. And so it reminded me that for all of the talk, they had this impression, for example, that President Obama won the election because he was on the internet, and therefore everybody voted for him. There's been this tension there between the initial revolution, of which the internet played a big part, and a referendum that went rather disastrously, and trying to make that link to nuts and bolts politics. And, it just reminded me of how tight that nexus is. That check you write, that phone call you make, that door you knock on, affects things in such a major way. And we do it because we believe that kids in our communities are better off because we do that. Because seniors have a more secure retirement because we do that. The women have access to pre- and postnatal care, even for women, because we make those phone calls and because we knock on those doors. So again, I just came back even more thankful than before for everything that has been done by all of you to put good people into office, good Democrats into office, and to make that happen. And I think it is a time where we need to think about what we care most about. One of the women that I was working with the most over there, she sort of said, she came up to me one of the last nights I was there, and she said, I've been trying to figure out how to ask you this without being rude. And I said, I expected it to be about U.S. foreign policy or something like that. You have lots of